You wake up every morning telling yourself the same lie, that you're content with where you are financially, that you don't need more, that wanting abundance somehow makes you shallow or greedy. But late at night, when the world is quiet and your defenses are down, you feel it. That gnawing ache in your chest, the weight of dreams deferred, the exhaustion of pretending that struggling is noble. I am Solomon, and I have walked where you now walk. I have felt the burden of wanting more while being told to want less. But here is what I discovered in my journey from shepherd's son to the wealthiest man who ever lived. There is a moment, a single unmistakable sign that appears before every financial miracle. Not the miracle you beg for, but the one you become worthy of. Picture this version of yourself. You walk into rooms differently. Your voice carries weight because your words carry wisdom. Your bank account reflects not just numbers, but the depth of your character. Money flows to you not because you chase it desperately, but because you have become a magnet for abundance. You sleep peacefully knowing that your wealth serves a purpose greater than yourself. This is not about changing what you do. This is about transforming who you are. Because the sign I am about to reveal does not come to those who simply want more money. It comes to those who are ready to become the person wealth seeks. You are standing at a crossroads right now. Most people will watch this video, nod along, and return to their comfortable patterns of financial mediocrity. But you are not most people. You clicked on this because something inside you refuses to settle. Something in you knows that your current relationship with money is not your final destination. The sign I speak of has appeared in my life and in the lives of every person I have known who experienced true financial transformation. It is subtle, it is powerful, and it is happening to some of you right now as you listen to these words. If you are ready to recognize this sign and become the person who attracts miracles instead of waiting for them, then you need to hear every word that follows. Subscribe to this channel because the wisdom I am about to share will fundamentally shift how you see yourself and your relationship with abundance. This is not motivation, this is revelation. Number 1, the spiritual logic behind the financial miracle. You have been taught to believe that miracles defy logic, that they are random acts of divine favoritism, distributed without reason to the lucky few while the rest struggle in silence. This lie has kept you small. This lie has kept you waiting for something that will never come to those who misunderstand its nature. I am Solomon, and I tell you this truth. There is no miracle without logic. There is no abundance without alignment. What you call a financial miracle is simply the visible manifestation of invisible laws that govern prosperity. When I was young and newly crowned, I could have asked for anything: armies, territories, years of life. Instead, I asked for wisdom. And in that moment, I unknowingly activated the spiritual logic that would make me the wealthiest man in history. The miracle you seek is not magic. It is mathematics. Not the mathematics of numbers, but the mathematics of character multiplied by intention, discipline raised to the power of consistency, faith divided by doubt. When these elements align, prosperity does not arrive by chance. It arrives by spiritual law. Picture a seed buried in darkness. To the naked eye, nothing is happening. The soil appears lifeless. The surface shows no sign of the transformation taking place below. But beneath that apparent emptiness, invisible forces are at work. Roots are forming. Energy is gathering. The miracle of growth has already begun, though no eye can see it. This is how wealth comes to those who understand its true nature. Most people plant their seed and immediately dig it up to check if it is growing. They plant again in different soil. They add more water, more fertilizer, more desperate energy. They kill their own miracle with their impatience. They violate the spiritual logic that demands seasons of hiddenness before seasons of harvest. When I sought wisdom before wealth, I was planting in the invisible realm. I was investing in character before currency. I was building the internal foundation that could support external abundance. The gold, the silver, the international trade, the architectural marvels, they were not the miracle. They were the evidence of a miracle that had already taken place in the realm of spirit. You want to skip this process. You want the harvest without the planting. You want the fruit without the tree. You want the miracle without the logic that precedes it. And so you remain empty-handed, not because you are unworthy, but because you are unprepared. There was a merchant who came to my court, desperate for trade agreements that would save his failing business. He spoke of his debts, his sleepless nights, his family's needs. He begged for favorable terms, for mercy, for a chance to prove himself. I listened to his words, but I watched his character. His clothes were disheveled. His speech was hurried. His eyes darted constantly, looking for angles, for shortcuts, for what he could take rather than what he could give. I offered him something different than what he asked for. I offered him a position in my household, not as a trader but as a student, not learning commerce but learning wisdom. He refused. He said he needed money now, not lessons later. He left my presence angry, convinced I had wasted his time. 5 years later, I learned he had lost everything. He had sought the miracle without understanding its logic. But there was another who came that same week, a young woman whose family's olive groves had failed 3 seasons in a row. She did not ask for gold. She did not beg for trade agreements. She asked to understand what she had done wrong. She asked to learn the principles that governed abundance. She was willing to serve without payment, to learn without guarantee, to change without knowing what she would become. I saw in her the same hunger for wisdom that had driven me to my knees before the Almighty. I saw someone who understood that miracles flow toward those who are aligned with their logic, not those who demand them despite their chaos. She spent 2 years in my household, not learning business but learning herself, learning discipline, learning patience, learning to see with eyes that look beyond the immediate to the eternal. When she returned to her land, everything had changed. Not the soil, not the climate, not the external circumstances. She had changed, and because she had changed, her approach changed. Her decisions changed. Her persistence changed. Within 3 years, her olive groves were producing not just enough for her family, but enough to supply my own palace. She became wealthy not because she received a miracle, but because she became aligned with the logic that creates them. This is the spiritual law that governs all financial transformation. Prosperity begins in the invisible realm of character, intention, and discipline. It begins when you stop asking what you can get and start asking who you must become. It begins when you understand that the miracle is not something that happens to you, but something that happens through you when you are properly prepared to receive it. The question is not whether you deserve abundance. The question is whether you are aligned with the spiritual laws that govern it. Are you seeking wisdom before wealth? Are you building character before seeking currency? Are you investing in the invisible before demanding the visible? Are you willing to plant in secret what you hope to harvest in public? Until you answer these questions with your actions, not your words, the miracle you seek will remain beyond your reach. Not because it is withheld from you, but because you are not yet aligned with the logic that brings it forth. The miracle is waiting. The question is whether you are ready to meet the requirements of receiving it. Number 2, the only silent sign that precedes the miracle. There is a moment that comes before every financial miracle. Not the moment when the money arrives, but the moment when you become capable of receiving it. This moment does not announce itself with fanfare. It does not arrive with obvious signs or dramatic revelations. It comes quietly, like dawn breaking after the longest night, and most people miss it entirely. You are looking for the wrong signs. You are watching your bank account, monitoring your investments, calculating your odds, measuring your progress against external markers that mean nothing in the realm where miracles are born. Meanwhile, the real sign is occurring within you. so subtle that only those who have learned to listen to the language of the Spirit can recognize its voice. I have experienced this sign 3 times in my life. Each time, it preceded a transformation so complete that those who knew me before could barely recognize who I became. The first was when I inherited my father's troubled kingdom. The second was when I asked for wisdom instead of riches. The third was when I chose to build the temple despite the enormous cost and seemingly impossible logistics. In each case, the external circumstances suggested failure was more likely than success. But in each case, the sign had already appeared. The sign is peace. Not the peace of those who have no problems, but the peace of those who have found their center in the midst of chaos. It is a strange, almost supernatural stillness that settles over your spirit when you finally stop fighting the current of your life and begin flowing with it instead. It is the peace that comes when you realize that your struggle to control outcomes has been the very thing preventing those outcomes from manifesting. Picture a man drowning in a river. His instinct is to fight the water, to flail against the current, to exhaust himself trying to swim upstream to safety. But the water is stronger than he is. His fighting only makes him sink faster. But there comes a moment, if he is wise, when he stops fighting, when he relaxes his body and allows the current to carry him. In that moment of surrender, he discovers that the water he thought was his enemy was actually carrying him toward the shore. This is the peace that precedes the miracle, the moment when you stop drowning in your circumstances and start floating toward your destiny. But peace alone is not enough. The sign has a second element, sudden clarity about the next step. Not clarity about the entire path, not a detailed map of how the miracle will unfold, but crystal clear knowing about what you must do right now. This clarity cuts through the fog of confusion that has been clouding your judgment. It bypasses the endless mental debates about pros and cons, risks and benefits. It speaks with the authority of truth that needs no explanation. When I was young and overwhelmed by the responsibility of leading Israel, I could have spent months debating what to ask God for. I could have consulted advisors, weighed options, created elaborate plans. Instead, in the moment of decision, the clarity was instant and undeniable. Ask for wisdom, not gold, not armies, not years of life. Wisdom. The clarity did not come from my mind. It came from a deeper place, a place that knew what my mind could not yet understand. There was a woman in my kingdom, the wife of a military commander who had died in battle. She was left with nothing but debts and 2 sons who were about to be taken as slaves to pay what was owed. She came to the prophet Elisha in desperation, not knowing what she could possibly do to save her family. In that moment of complete helplessness, when all her options had been exhausted, the sign appeared. First came the peace. Not the peace of someone who has a plan, but the peace of someone who has finally stopped trying to create one. Then came the clarity. She did not need to find oil to sell. She already had oil. Just a small jar, seemingly worthless, but it was what she had. The clarity was not to go searching for resources she did not possess, but to use what was already in her hands. The miracle that followed astounded everyone who witnessed it. One small jar of oil filled container after container, until she had enough to pay her debts and support her family for years to come. But the miracle did not begin when the oil started multiplying. It began in the moment when peace replaced panic and clarity replaced confusion. The third element of the sign is more difficult to recognize because it feels like loss rather than gain. It is a break from old cycles and internal patterns. Suddenly, the behaviors that once felt automatic begin to feel foreign. The thoughts that once dominated your mind lose their power over you. The fears that once drove your decisions start to feel small and irrelevant. This is not comfortable. Most people resist this part of the sign because it feels like losing themselves rather than finding their miracle. You have been addicted to your patterns, even the ones that hurt you. Your worry has become as familiar as your own heartbeat. Your scarcity thinking has become as natural as breathing. Your need to control has become as automatic as blinking. When these patterns suddenly lose their grip on you, it can feel disorienting, even frightening. But this breaking away from old internal patterns is essential. The miracle cannot flow through the same channels that have been carrying your limitations. The fourth element is perhaps the most crucial: an act of faith without visible guarantees. Not the desperate faith of someone trying to convince themselves that everything will work out, but the quiet faith of someone who has heard the voice of truth and is willing to act on it even when logic argues against it. This faith does not announce itself or try to prove itself to others. It simply moves forward with steady confidence in what cannot be seen. When I decided to build the temple, every advisor counseled against it. The cost was astronomical. The technical challenges seemed impossible. The political risks were enormous. By every logical measure, the project was doomed to bankrupt the kingdom and destroy my reputation. But the sign had appeared. I had peace despite the magnitude of the challenge. I had clarity about the next steps despite the complexity of the project. I had broken free from the pattern of playing it safe that had characterized my early reign. And I had faith that what I could not see was more real than what I could see. The final element of the sign is the most beautiful: a new behavior that arises effortlessly. Not forced change that requires constant willpower, but natural change that flows from your transformed internal state. You find yourself making different choices without trying to make different choices. You discover yourself speaking with different words, thinking different thoughts, approaching challenges with different energy. The change is so organic that you almost do not notice it happening. This is how you know the miracle is already in motion. Not because your external circumstances have changed, but because you have changed. Not because you have worked to become different, but because you have become different by working. The miracle does not change you. Being ready for the miracle changes you. And that change is itself the first manifestation of the abundance that is coming. When this sign appears in your life, you will know it. Not because someone tells you to look for it, but because your spirit recognizes the familiar voice of truth. The question is not whether the sign will come. The question is whether you will have the wisdom to recognize it when it does, and the courage to follow where it leads. Number 3, why few recognize this sign. The sign I speak of appears more frequently than you might imagine. It visits the desperate and the hopeful, the struggling and the successful, the believers and the skeptics. It does not discriminate based on worthiness or education or previous experience with abundance. The sign is democratic in its distribution but aristocratic in its recognition. Most who encounter it dismiss it, misinterpret it, or actively resist it. And in doing so, they push away the very miracle they have been praying for. You are surrounded by people who have missed their moment. They sit in the same offices, walk the same streets, breathe the same air as those who recognized the sign and transformed their lives. The difference was not opportunity. The difference was recognition. The difference was readiness to receive what they had been asking for, even when it came packaged differently than they expected. The first reason most people miss the sign is the most tragic. They are too distracted seeking formulas. They have convinced themselves that wealth follows recipes, that prosperity can be reduced to steps, that miracles arrive through techniques rather than transformation. They spend their energy collecting strategies instead of developing character. They pursue methods instead of meaning. They want the mechanics of abundance while ignoring the spirit that animates it. I watch them consume endless content about investments and side hustles and passive income streams. They memorize principles and tactics and frameworks. They can quote statistics about compound interest and recite mantras about positive thinking. But they cannot sit in silence long enough to hear the voice that would guide them to their miracle. They have become experts in the external while remaining strangers to the internal. There was a scribe in my court who knew every law, every precedent, every procedure for conducting business in the kingdom. He could calculate profits faster than my treasurers, negotiate contracts more skillfully than my merchants, and identify opportunities more quickly than my advisors. By every measure of knowledge and competence, he should have become wealthy. Instead, he remained a clerk earning wages while others earned fortunes. The irony was painful to witness. He knew everything about wealth except how to receive it. He was so focused on the mechanics that he missed the magic, so busy studying the rules that he ignored the relationship, so concentrated on the formulas that he could not recognize the miracle when it stood before him, offering to transform his life. The day I offered him a partnership in a new trading venture, his first response was to analyze the risks. His second was to research the market conditions. His third was to create elaborate projections and contingency plans. He spent 3 months preparing to say yes to an opportunity that required only faith and immediate action. By the time he was ready to commit, the moment had passed. The partnership went to someone else who understood that miracles wait for no one's analysis. The second reason people miss the sign is more insidious. They want results without inner transformation. They believe they can remain exactly who they are while their circumstances magically change around them. They want the miracle to adapt to their limitations, rather than expanding beyond those limitations themselves. They pray for abundance while clinging to the very mindset that creates scarcity. You cannot receive what you are not prepared to hold. You cannot maintain what you have not developed the character to steward. You cannot attract what you do not vibrate in harmony with. The miracle requires you to become worthy of it, not through suffering or sacrifice, but through growth and alignment. Most people reject this requirement. They want the blessing without the becoming. They seek external solutions to internal problems. They think new strategies will overcome old thinking. They believe better circumstances will fix broken character. They imagine that money will heal what only wisdom can restore. And so they remain trapped in cycles of temporary improvement, followed by inevitable return to their previous state. I have seen lottery winners become broke within years because they received wealth without wisdom. I have watched inheritance destroy families because abundance was given without the character to manage it. I have observed businesses fail despite perfect market conditions because the owners had not developed internally what they needed to succeed externally. The miracle is not just the money. The miracle is becoming the person who can receive, multiply, and properly steward the abundance. The third reason is perhaps the most common. They ignore the power of silent consistency. They are addicted to dramatic action, to visible progress, to immediate feedback. They cannot appreciate the profound power of small, consistent steps taken in the right direction over long periods of time. They want the spectacular while dismissing the incremental. They seek the extraordinary while ignoring the discipline that creates it. The sign often appears not as a lightning bolt of inspiration, but as a gentle nudge towards slightly different daily choices. Get up 30 minutes earlier. Spend 15 minutes in silence. Write down 3 things you are grateful for. Make 1 phone call you have been avoiding. Take 1 small step toward a goal that seems impossible. These actions feel insignificant. They produce no immediate change. They generate no external excitement. And so most people abandon them in favor of more dramatic pursuits that feel more important but accomplish less. Consistency is the compound interest of character development. Small improvements, repeated daily, create exponential transformation over time, but you cannot see this process while you are in it. You can only see it when you look back from a place of abundance and realize that the miracle was not an event but a lifestyle. Not a moment, but a method. Not something that happened to you, but something you became. The fourth and most painful reason people miss the sign is that they reject the discomfort that precedes the miracle. They have been taught to avoid pain, minimize risk, and seek comfort above all else. But the path to abundance requires walking through territories that feel unsafe, making decisions that seem illogical, and trusting processes that cannot be controlled. The discomfort is not punishment, it is preparation. It is the spiritual equivalent of physical exercise. Just as muscles grow stronger through resistance, character develops through challenge. Just as athletes push beyond their comfort zones to achieve peak performance, those who experience financial miracles must be willing to stretch beyond their current capacity. When the sign appears, it often asks you to do something that feels risky. Quit the job that provides security but limits growth. Invest money you can barely afford to lose. Move to a city where you know no one. Start the business everyone says will fail. The discomfort is not a warning that you are making a mistake. It is confirmation that you are finally moving in the direction of your destiny. But most people interpret discomfort as danger. They pull back when they should push forward. They retreat when they should advance. They choose the familiar misery over the unfamiliar miracle. And they spend their lives wondering why abundance always seems to go to someone else, never realizing that they had their moment but let fear convince them to let it pass. The tragedy is not that few people have the opportunity for financial transformation. The tragedy is that so many have the opportunity but lack the recognition to seize it. The sign is not rare. The readiness to receive it is. The miracle is not limited. The willingness to become worthy of it is. Your moment will come. The only question is whether you will recognize it when it arrives, or join the multitudes who let their miracle walk past them disguised as an inconvenient challenge to everything they thought they knew about how abundance actually works. Number 4, how to prepare for this moment. Preparation is not about readiness for what you expect. It is about readiness for what you cannot yet imagine. The miracle you are seeking will not arrive in the form you anticipate, at the time you schedule, or through the channels you have been monitoring. It will come disguised as an ordinary moment that requires extraordinary faith. It will appear as a simple decision that carries infinite consequences. It will present itself as an opportunity so perfectly suited to your growth that you will recognize it only if you have prepared not just your circumstances, but your spirit. You have been preparing incorrectly. You have been accumulating information when you should be cultivating intuition. You have been planning strategies when you should be developing character. You have been trying to control outcomes when you should be surrendering to alignment. The preparation I speak of cannot be rushed, cannot be faked, and cannot be delegated to anyone else. It is the most intimate work you will ever do, and it is the only work that prepares you to receive what you truly desire. The first element of preparation is the most difficult for most people to accept. You must silence the noise. Not just the external noise of distraction and entertainment and endless information consumption, but the internal noise of doubt and worry and compulsive thinking. Your mind has become a storm of competing voices, each claiming to know what you should do, where you should go, how you should live. But the voice that will guide you to your miracle speaks only in the silence between those thoughts. I learned this lesson in the most profound way during the early years of my reign. I was surrounded by advisors, each offering different counsel about how to rule wisely. Military leaders wanted me to focus on expansion. Economic advisors pushed for trade agreements. Religious leaders demanded attention to spiritual matters. Citizens petitioned for various reforms and improvements. The noise was overwhelming. Every voice seemed reasonable. Every argument had merit, but following all of them led nowhere. It was only when I withdrew to a place of complete silence that clarity came. Not silence from sound, which is easy to find, but silence from the need to have an opinion about everything, to react to every crisis, to solve every problem immediately. In that deep silence, I heard the voice that mattered, the voice that told me to ask for wisdom above all else, the voice that changed everything. You must create sacred space for this silence in your life, not meditation as a technique you perform, but silence as a place you inhabit. Not quiet time as an item on your schedule, but stillness as the foundation from which you live. This is not about sitting in a particular position or following a specific method. This is about learning to be comfortable with not knowing, not controlling, not having an immediate answer to every question that arises. In this silence, you will discover something remarkable. Most of what you thought you needed to figure out will figure itself out. Most of what you thought you needed to control will flow more smoothly without your interference. Most of what you thought required your urgent attention will resolve itself while you focus on what truly matters. The silence is not empty space. It is the space where miracles are conceived. The second preparation is equally challenging. You must change from within first, knowing that the outer will follow after. This violates everything you have been taught about goal achievement and success strategies. You have been told to change your circumstances in order to change your life. I tell you to change your life in order to change your circumstances. External change without internal change is cosmetic and temporary. Internal change without external change is impossible, because inner transformation inevitably produces outer manifestation. This means becoming the person who already has what you desire before you actually have it. Not through pretense or positive thinking or affirmations that feel hollow, but through genuine transformation of your character, your habits, your way of seeing and responding to the world around you. If you desire financial abundance, you must develop the character traits that abundance requires: generosity instead of hoarding, patience instead of urgency, wisdom instead of cleverness, faith instead of fear. There was a poor woman in my kingdom who dreamed of owning her own bakery. She had no money, no connections, no apparent path from her current situation to her desired outcome. But something inside her refused to accept her circumstances as permanent. She began preparing internally for the life she wanted to live. Every morning, she practiced gratitude for the bakery she did not yet own. Every day, she perfected recipes in her small kitchen, treating each loaf as if it were being served to royalty. Every evening, she studied the successful bakers in the marketplace, not with envy but with curiosity about how excellence expressed itself in her chosen field. She developed the habits, the mindset, and the skills of a successful baker while still working as a servant in someone else's household. When opportunity finally arrived in the form of a retiring baker who needed someone to take over his shop, she was ready. Not just financially, because a benefactor appeared to provide the needed funds, but internally. She had spent years becoming the person who could successfully run a bakery. The external opportunity was simply the manifestation of internal preparation that had been taking place in secret. The third preparation requires you to honor small beginnings, recognizing that they contain the code of the miracle you seek. You despise the day of small things because you cannot see their connection to your larger dreams. But every mighty river begins as a small spring. Every great tree grows from a tiny seed. Every financial empire starts with a single wise decision, repeated consistently over time. The miracle you are waiting for is not separate from your current circumstances. It is hidden within them, waiting for you to recognize its presence and nurture its growth. The skills you are developing in your current job contain elements you will need in your dream business. The relationships you are building now will provide connections essential to your future success. The challenges you are facing today are developing the character you will need to handle tomorrow's opportunities. But you must honor these small beginnings instead of dismissing them. You must see them as important instead of insignificant. You must invest in them as if they were already the miracle instead of waiting for the miracle to make them important. This shift in perspective changes everything. When you honor small beginnings, you accelerate their growth. When you despise them, you stunt their development. The final preparation is the most powerful and the most risky. You must begin acting as if you have already received what you are seeking, not through fantasy or delusion, but through the posture of someone who already carries the abundance you desire. This means making decisions from a place of abundance rather than scarcity, speaking words that reflect confidence rather than desperation, carrying yourself with the dignity of someone whose prayers have already been answered. This requires tremendous faith because you are acting on what you cannot yet see. You are investing in a future that exists only in your heart. You are betting everything on a promise that has been made not to your mind, but to your spirit. Most people cannot sustain this posture because it feels like lying to themselves. But it is not lying. It is aligning with truth that is more real than current circumstances. When you truly prepare in this way, when you have silenced the noise and changed from within and honored small beginnings, and adopted the posture of one who has already received, something shifts in the spiritual realm. You become a magnet for the miracle you have been seeking. You attract it not through desperation but through alignment. You draw it to yourself not because you need it but because you are ready for it. The miracle is not waiting for your circumstances to improve. It is waiting for you to become worthy of receiving it. Not worthy through suffering or sacrifice, but worthy through preparation. The moment is coming when all your preparation will meet your opportunity. The question is not whether that moment will arrive. The question is whether you will be ready when it does. Number 5, what to do when the sign appears. The moment has arrived. After years of waiting, months of preparation, days of uncertainty, the sign finally appears with its unmistakable presence. That strange peace settles over your spirit. That sudden clarity about the next step cuts through all confusion. Those old patterns lose their grip on you. That act of faith presents itself without guarantees. Those new behaviors begin flowing effortlessly from your transformed heart. You stand at the threshold of your miracle, and everything you do in the next days and weeks will determine whether you step into abundance or step away from it. This is the most dangerous moment of your journey, not because the opportunity itself contains danger, but because this is when most people sabotage their own breakthrough. They have prayed for this moment, prepared for this moment, dreamed of this moment. But when it finally comes, they respond with the very patterns that kept them from prosperity in the first place. They seek validation instead of trusting their inner knowing. They announce their plans instead of protecting them. They rush ahead frantically instead of moving with confident patience. They allow anxiety to contaminate the very faith that attracted the miracle. You must understand something crucial about this moment. The sign that appears to you will likely make no sense to anyone else. It will not fit their logic, meet their expectations, or align with their understanding of how success is supposed to work. If you make the mistake of seeking confirmation from others, you will receive confusion instead of clarity, doubt instead of confidence, fear instead of faith. The miracle is yours to recognize and yours to receive. No one else can validate what only your spirit can understand. When I received the sign to build the temple, every advisor counseled against it. The project was too expensive, too ambitious, too risky for a kingdom that needed stability more than grandeur. Their concerns were reasonable. Their math was accurate, their caution was logical, but they could not see what I could see. They could not feel what I could feel. They could not hear what I could hear. The sign had appeared to me, not to them. And if I had waited for their approval, the temple would never have been built. And one of the greatest miracles of architectural and spiritual achievement in human history would have been lost to committee thinking. The first thing you must do when the sign appears is confirm it in spirit, not with others' logic. This means going back to that place of silence where you first learned to hear the voice that matters. This means asking not whether your plan makes sense to other people, but whether it makes sense to the deepest part of yourself. This means testing your guidance not against conventional wisdom, but against the wisdom that transcends convention. Confirmation in spirit does not mean you ignore practical considerations or dismiss legitimate concerns. It means you evaluate those considerations and concerns from a place of inner knowing rather than outer fear. It means you make decisions based on what your spirit confirms is true, even when your mind cannot yet understand how it will work. It means you trust the voice that has never led you astray, even when it asks you to walk a path that seems impossible to everyone around you. There was a young merchant who received the sign to trade with a distant kingdom that had been hostile to our people for generations. By every political and economic calculation, the venture was doomed to failure. Previous attempts at trade with this nation had ended in losses and diplomatic incidents. His family begged him to reconsider. His business partners threatened to withdraw their support. His friends questioned his sanity. But in the silence of his own heart, he heard something different. He felt that strange peace despite the apparent danger. He experienced that sudden clarity about the next steps despite the obvious obstacles. He knew, with a knowing that went beyond knowledge, that this was his moment. Instead of seeking validation from those who could not see what he saw, he confirmed his guidance in prayer and prepared to act. The results astounded everyone, including myself. Not only did his first trading mission succeed beyond all expectations, but it opened a corridor of commerce that brought prosperity to both kingdoms for generations. What looked like foolishness to human wisdom proved to be genius from heaven's perspective. But it only worked because he had the courage to confirm in spirit what could not be confirmed by logic. The second thing you must do is protect what is being born. Do not expose your plans to those who lack the spiritual maturity to understand what you are receiving. Do not share your vision with those who are still trapped in scarcity thinking. Do not seek advice from those who have never experienced the kind of breakthrough you are about to experience. Your miracle is in its most vulnerable stage. Like a pregnancy in its first trimester, it needs protection, not publicity. This does not mean you lie or hide or pretend nothing is happening. It means you are selective about who you allow into your process. It means you share your dreams only with those who have demonstrated the wisdom to steward them carefully. It means you discuss your plans only with those who understand the spiritual laws that govern abundance. It means you guard your energy from those who would contaminate it with doubt, fear, or jealousy. Most people do the opposite. The moment they receive clarity about their miracle, they immediately begin telling everyone who will listen. They seek encouragement from those who have never encouraged anyone. They want confirmation from those who have never confirmed anything. They share their sacred vision with those who treat nothing as sacred. And they wonder why their miracle loses power, why their clarity becomes confusion, why their peace transforms into anxiety. Your plans are not entertainment for others. Your vision is not a topic for casual conversation. Your miracle is not a subject for public debate. Guard what has been given to you until it is strong enough to withstand the skepticism of those who have not received what you have received. Protect the seed until it becomes a tree that no storm can uproot. The third principle is perhaps the most difficult to practice. You must act with firmness but without haste. The sign brings urgency but not panic. It demands action but not frantic activity. It requires movement, but not rushed movement. There is a difference between divine urgency and human impatience. Divine urgency moves with power and precision. Human impatience moves with anxiety and error. When you act from divine urgency, every step feels purposeful. Every decision feels measured. Every movement feels aligned with a larger rhythm that you are following rather than forcing. You move quickly when speed is required, slowly when patience is needed, and you always know the difference because you are following internal guidance rather than external pressure. When you act from human impatience, every step feels desperate, every decision feels rushed, every movement feels like you are trying to make something happen instead of allowing something to happen through you. You make mistakes because you are moving too fast to think clearly. You miss opportunities because you are too focused on the ones in front of you. You exhaust yourself because you are running instead of walking, pushing instead of flowing. The final and most important thing you must do is trust. Trust that those who reap miracles do not sow anxiety. Trust that abundance flows toward those who can receive it without grasping it. Trust that the same wisdom that brought you to this moment will carry you through this moment. Trust that you do not have to have all the answers in order to take the next step. Trust that the path will become clear as you walk it, even when you cannot see the destination from where you currently stand. This trust is not passive. It is the most active force in the universe. It moves mountains, opens doors, and creates possibilities that did not exist before. But it requires you to release your need to control outcomes while maintaining your commitment to take right action. It asks you to hold your plans lightly while pursuing them seriously. It demands that you care deeply about your success while remaining unattached to specific results. When the sign appears in your life, and it will appear, remember that this is not just an opportunity for financial gain. It is an invitation to step into the fullness of who you were created to be. It is a chance to align with forces larger than yourself. It is your moment to discover what becomes possible when human preparation meets divine opportunity. The miracle is not just what you will receive. The miracle is who you will become in the process of receiving it. Trust the process. Trust the timing. Trust yourself. Your moment has arrived. You stand now in a place few will ever reach. Not because you are special, but because you have chosen to see what others refuse to acknowledge. You have learned to recognize the language that abundance speaks, the quiet signals it sends before it transforms a life completely. Most will continue searching for formulas in a world that operates on frequencies. They will keep chasing effects while you have discovered the cause. Picture a master gardener walking through his garden at dawn. To the untrained eye, the soil looks ordinary, the seedlings unremarkable. But the gardener sees what others cannot. He sees the subtle signs of life stirring beneath the surface. He knows which plants will flourish and which will struggle, not by their current appearance, but by their alignment with the invisible forces that govern growth. He tends to what cannot yet be seen because he trusts what cannot yet be proven. This is who you are becoming. Someone who recognizes the miraculous in the mundane. Someone who can feel the shift before it becomes visible. Someone who moves with the rhythm of abundance rather than fighting against it. The sign I have revealed to you is not just information to be remembered. It is a new way of being to be embodied. Your transformation has already begun. In the moments when you felt that inexplicable peace despite your circumstances, you were touching the edge of your miracle. In those flashes of sudden clarity about what to do next, you were hearing the voice that guides all who are ready to receive. In those acts of faith without guarantees, you were aligning with the force that creates worlds. The journey you are on requires companions who understand its depth. Subscribe to walk this path with others who recognize that true wealth begins in the invisible realm of the spirit. Your miracle is not a destination you will someday reach. It is a way of living you are learning to inhabit, one moment of recognition at a time.